Has the crypto contagion subsided? Who will be left in the C5 markets when the carnage is finally done? Are we in a recession? Plus, we've got some really interesting news for our international users at Abra. Okay, it's time for Money Talks. Let's do this. All right. Hello. Welcome to Money Talks. I'm your host, Bill Barhydt, founder and CEO at Abra. We've got an interesting update for you today. I'm going to have Deepak and Tanner join me in a couple of minutes. Probably do about a 20 to 30 minute show today, just really to give you some updates, answer some burning questions. Please tee them up on the live stream. We will get to them in short order. I'll do a few updates for you. Not a lot that's going to be materially different from most of you from last week, but let's get into it anyway. A few things of note. I haven't been showing many charts lately, and there's really no point because any kind of technical analysis in this environment is almost impossible. I'll show you a couple of things. I'll bring up my trusty charts here. I haven't done it in a while. Bitcoin has effectively erased 2 years of gains. Now, if you're into technical analysis, this unfortunately looks like a classic head and shoulders formation, which means there's more downside coming. But it's really hard to say. I think a lot of this is hangover from interest rates and recession. And I think that economists are now accepting the fact that we're in quarter 2 of a recession, which is the formal definition. So my take is that, and I'll come to the macro stuff in a moment, after I give some crypto updates, that the Fed will have to pause rate hikes. And we saw an ISM print, which is in free fall earlier. I'll explain what that means, but that's usually the best leading indicator. And interest rates are coming down in the bond markets. Yields are coming down in the bond markets, and prices are spiking. So let's come back to that. But I do see a bottom forming here. Mostly on macroeconomic grounds, not necessarily on any technical trading grounds. We can see Ethereum has made a lower high versus the last run up. If we can actually go back here even further and see that Ethereum's got a long recovery road ahead. But if you're a long-term holder of Ethereum, boy, is this an interesting time. And I'm dollar cost averaging in right now with the intent of looking for wicks down and spikes down to add to my Ethereum holdings in particular, but also my Bitcoin holdings, probably on a 2-to-1 basis, Bitcoin versus Ethereum right now. I see a lot of upside for both, but Ethereum in particular. Interesting chart here that Ryan was showing this morning about the kind of incremental run-ups in Bitcoin cycles. And you can see from the low or the interim low, 500x run up, 115x run up, 23x run up. From the highs, 33x, 20x, 3.5x, that probably points to 150K top in the next cycle. Who knows? It's a very, really interesting. And while we're on the topic of Ryan has been, and you should follow Ryan. He's one of my favorite people in the crypto space. He's got a really interesting take on this Grayscale announcement. In case you missed it, the SEC, as expected, rejected Grayscale's ETF application. I expected this time around Grayscale within a couple of weeks to file a lawsuit against the SEC for improper process and claiming that it was unfair practices on their part. Well, they did it within a couple of hours. So clearly they were ready for this. They were planning or assuming that they were going to be rejected. They hired the Solicitor General, a former Solicitor General of the United States, to act as their trial attorney for this. And I think it's going to get really interesting real quick. So a couple of thoughts. I mentioned, I'm going to come back to this one actually. All right. So obviously our competitors have been all over the news lately. I got into it yesterday with the founder of Compound, where he was talking about the benefits of DeFi versus C5, and reminded him that Abra has been one of the largest liquidity providers and users of DeFi, combined with responsible risk management practices, which I would suspect many direct consumers of DeFi are unable to practice. You're not doing code audits, you're not doing ongoing daily 24/7 risk analyses, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's this misunderstanding that it's going to be C5 versus DeFi. It's simply not true. Abra will be a large consumer of DeFi for many years to come. Okay, so anyway, I had a respectful conversation, and we ultimately agreed that responsible risk management is necessary to make DeFi the most useful. And it's human beings that are ultimately using this stuff for the most part. And so for us to take advantage of it, we really have to know what we're doing. And the average person is going to be at a disadvantage when trying to use DeFi directly. So other crypto companies in the news, obviously, our competitors still remain in the news. Abra remains fine. Thank you for reaching out. I've gotten literally dozens of direct messages on all of the social media platforms, email. Many of you figured out my email, and it's fine to send a note asking, one, if I can help get funds off of other services. Heart goes out for those of you whose funds are blocked. As I mentioned, Abra's fine. We're still signing up new users, processing deposits, processing withdrawals, processing new user registrations. We've got really cool new features coming out. We'll get into it with Deepak and Tanner in a few minutes. But yeah, we're hearing some pretty awful news on the street. Here's FTX, and so sorry for that. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm going to get to this pretty quickly. It looks like we're in a recession, right? So the ISM number print from about 2 hours ago was a 53. Generally, 50 is considered recession, but actually I would say 55 is considered recession. This is the Institute for Supply Manufacturing, which basically gives an indication of inventories. And here inventories seem to be spiking, which means that demand is softening and purchases are coming down at a huge clip. So that to me says we are in a recession, and bond markets are now starting to accept that. And as I mentioned to you on this is from last week, the market is telling the Fed that after September, they're not going to be able to do any more rate hikes. Now, that was what I had originally said back in April. I checked my notes, and I started to get a little worried that that was untrue a few weeks ago when I saw the magnitude of inflation. And honestly, I was just really not accepting the reality, which is that inflation really has peaked. And with all of these indicators of oil prices probably needing to coming down, interest rates probably coming down, I do think we've seen peak inflation. I actually think if the Fed is not careful, we're going to get into a recessionary environment that includes deflation. That's right. I think we actually have a very good chance of being in a deflationary environment within the next year, if not sooner. Now, that would be super interesting because that would mean that interest rates would probably get back down to where they were before they started raising rates again. And once they assumed that that the current inflation model was due to COVID and supply chains, which it mostly was. Okay, so that's that. Scott Minerd, a well-known economist who you should also follow on Twitter, also agrees second quarter real GDP is now tracking negative, which would make for the second consecutive quarterly contraction. This plus 3 consecutive negative months of the LEI suggests a recession may have already begun. This is what I've been telling you for a couple of weeks now. Officially, we couldn't have been in a recession because it was the first quarter, but it was pretty clear that things were getting worse, not better. So that looking back, we would have been deemed to have been in a recession already. So that's why I've been telling you this for a few weeks. Okay, so some interesting crypto updates. It's not all bad. I find this pretty interesting. I know a lot of people like to hate on Facebook, but I actually really think this is cool. They're going to be testing NFTs on Facebook itself for, I guess, for your profile, and then also soon on Instagram. I know I'm going to be using it. I'm going to be moving everything I'm doing in the NFT space into my Abra wallet. later this year once those features are available. It's one of the things I'm definitely most excited about. Kudos to Facebook for embracing NFTs. And oh, by the way, I didn't really have a lot to say on the Abra card. Maybe I'll bring up a page in a moment, but thousands and thousands of you have pre-registered for the Abra credit card. Maybe there's an update from the team there. I don't know, but yeah, so thank you for the support there. Team is super excited about that. And then lastly, really interesting news here from Solana, and looking forward to hopefully getting Solana and Abra in the future. Solana announced a Solana phone, and I think this is really interesting. Anatoly happens to be not only the founder and CEO of Solana Labs, but he and I actually knew each other from back in his Qualcomm days, because he was part of the founding team of Brew. And Brew was the phone OS used on the feature phones from Verizon and Sprint that you would use to run those little Java apps that you could run on the feature phone. So if you ever played one of those games on those little tiny screens, it was probably Anatoly's team that built that OS, and my company Sonari was actually developing games for those phones. So it's interesting to see that he's come full circle from his time at Qualcomm. And by the way, Solana Beach is very near Qualcomm headquarters, which is why the product is called Solana, in case you didn't know. All right, so super cool. I don't know if it's going to get any traction, but it is interesting, and I think the idea of having native dApp support and a Web3 model built into a mobile device is very interesting. I know Brave is doing this with their browser, where you'll be able to have the wallet embedded directly into the browser. I have a bit of a problem with that approach, because not all of your needs will be browser-based. So that might not be the best way to do it. Having a hardware element is also interesting. Again, the problem with that is, what if you're on your desktop, or later on, using, some AR goggles or something else? So we'll see how these form factors all kind of fit together in the future. But right now, I think it's pretty interesting. All right, so let's see. We've got where are we on? Let me stop screen sharing here. We've got Bitcoin at a little under 20K, Ethereum straddling 1K. And we'll see, just to summarize, if we've really, because of the inflationary pressures, have reached kind of a trough in the macro environments, which I think it's still going to be Q4 where it's game on again, which is what I was telling you earlier in the spring. And I don't think that was incorrect. I think that was spot on. We will see. All right. So enough of that. Let's get to our discussion. Tee up your questions. I will bring on, we're going to skip the interstitials today. Let's get right to it. Let's bring on Deepak and Tanner. You guys there? Oh, I think you are. All right. Good morning. How's it going?
Morning. How are you, Bill?
All right. Good to see you guys. So we've got a whole bunch of questions teed up. One thing out of the gate, I think there was some confusion. I'll just clear it up. I think there was some tweets and Telegram messages floating around that Abra was delisting Tether. This is completely untrue. So I just want to deal with that head on, since a couple of folks had mentioned it in the chat. Abra is not delisting Tether, fake news. I think there was a mistake in a support post which may have mentioned it, and so we've cleaned all that up, and so apologies for that. Okay, let's see. What is top of mind for you guys today?
Well, over on the products, just looking at the macro, lots of stuff happening. But just want to reiterate what Bill kept emphasizing, is that Abra is in a really, really good position thanks to our extremely strong credit and lending team, our risk management practices, our compliance team. So we're in a very, very good position. And from a product perspective, it's really the time for us to, put our heads down, listen to our customers, and build the best experience that we can build. And so that's the charter, that's the mission. Whatever happens in the macro, when it all comes back up again, Abra will be in a very strong position. So, but anyway, just going into where we are with product, there's a bunch of things that we're working on. I know, Bill, how deep you want me to go into things. Maybe we can take some questions and give some information through to the Q&A session. But in general, it's just keeping our heads down and working on the most important things right now.
I love it. It's the best time to build.
Yep.
And what are you hearing, Tanner?
Yeah, a lot of questions around just the overall environment. What makes us different? I think you guys both have spoken very eloquently about that, much better than I can. But I think top of mind for me is just continuing to be there for our users. Anything and everything that you need, questions that you have, support. We're always going to be here. I think as we really look to that charter of service, creating a great experience, like we really believe that that's what's going to differentiate us in the space. So just simply being here and being available, I think is top of mind for us.
Yep. One issue I want to bring up, which I think affects support, and maybe you both want to comment on this, is the level of scams that I'm seeing has not abated. Meaning that the price of Bitcoin doesn't seem to slow down the scammers. If you see people responding in the YouTube chat, and by the way, please subscribe. It's why we do this. It's for all of you. So hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't on YouTube, especially if you're there watching it. I think if you're on Facebook or Twitter, you're already following us, but on YouTube, definitely subscribe. So a lot of the people are falling for these messages promising, send us 0.1 Bitcoin or 0.5 Bitcoin, and we'll send you, 0.75 back or 3 Bitcoin back or something ridiculous. Please block these people, report them, ignore them. There's no free ride. Generating 7.5% or 8.5% a year interest on Circle USDC is very complex, right? It's so I can assure you, generating that in 3 hours is not possible. So please be smart and assume that if it smells fishy, that it is fishy, and just block and move on. All right. But the counter to that, I would say, is one of the things I love about our community, and I see this even in the chat here every week, people answering each other's questions, and it's awesome. Helping each other with answers, giving people links to support. That's great. I love the Abra army, the CPerks army as well, and keep supporting each other. I love it. Okay, and just as I say that, I see somebody on Facebook trying to scam users, and I'm going to use my favorite button now, which is block. So done. All right. I don't know, Tanner, do you still see this as on the support team, or has it gotten better?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the unfortunate reality with fraud is that it's a very lucrative business for a lot of people. So be smart. Right? Use 2FA, write your recovery phrase down on a piece of paper, old school analog. Do not save it on your device. Do not screenshot it. Things of that nature. I mean, there's a lot that we have in place to help you protect yourself with two-factor authentication and things like that. And if you have questions about security and how to secure your account, reach out to us. We're happy to provide guidance on how you can keep your wallet safe.
Totally. I'm looking at my Abra app right now. If you go to the hamburger menu and then you click on where is it? Help me out here. It's under security, right? Wallet security. And then you turn on two-factor authentication, and preferably with another device or on your laptop if you use the phone. You'll be able to prevent anybody from withdrawing funds that doesn't have access to your 2FA app. I use Authy for 2FA. Makes it very easy and secure to move my 2FA codes around. But there's lots of apps that do that now. So I love it. I have an Android phone that I use for 2FA, and I have my iPhone that I use for my Abra app. And some of you do the opposite, which is totally cool. And you can get a cheap Android phone. You should do that for your whole life, by the way. If you have 2FA on everything, which you should do, all your social media, your email, your Google apps, your Microsoft apps, go get a cheap Android phone. You can go buy one on Amazon, probably for $25, and it's the best $25 you'll ever spend. And if you can't afford that, if you have an old laptop or whatever, do it that way. All right, so we got to get into this. So I understand, Deepak, we have some interesting developments for international users. that we're going to be supporting some international payment types. Now, we may get this under the wire before Money Talks next week. So you want to give us an update of what we're doing there?
Yeah. So essentially next week, I think it's the 6th of July. What we're going to do is, if you've ever bought Bitcoin using your credit card or any other form of payments for international users, you know that you would have to basically copy the Bitcoin address and go off to Simplex and then paste your address there and then buy the Bitcoin, and then it'll ship the Bitcoin back to that address. Don't do any of that now. With this release, you don't have to worry about copy pasting address. The moment that you go in there, you're going to see, and also you were only able to buy BTC before. Now you're able to buy 130 plus crypto, all of that Abra supports, right there in that screen. And basically you don't have to worry about copy pasting addresses based on the currency that you select. We will in fact show you all the vendors that are available for you to use to buy that crypto from, and it gets automatically deposited to your address. So if you've ever done that before with Abra, you will love it. This guest experience will be extremely seamless.
Yep. That's awesome. And so to be clear, to be specific, my understanding is for those, we have a lot of people here who watch from Canada. We'll be supporting Interact payments for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a range of payments that we support internationally. I can bring that list up, Bill, real quick. Just give me a second here. But so SEPA, Faster Payments, Ideal, Interact, Pally, NPP, GoPay, Instant. Like there's like a list of 20 20 payment methods that we now accept. So it's going to be great.
Yeah. So for those of you who weren't able to follow all of that, so SEPA would be anybody in Europe who's got a European euro or pound bank account. Faster Payments is in the UK. Most of you in the UK would already know that. Interact for Canada. Support, which is originally from Germany, but supports like 8 European countries, including I think Belgium, Austria, and a few other countries. We've got a couple of supported payment types in Australia coming. And then a whole bunch of other countries, which will come out on a rolling basis in mostly in Asia Pacific a few weeks later. So this has been a long time coming, and you probably know from Abra.com that we have this marketplace where you can buy crypto outside of the Abra app using these different payment types. And we never market it. We kind of use it as a big test, and it's actually made a lot of money for our partners. Most of the money goes to them. It's kind of like Kayak if you're in the US or Canada. Kayak for crypto, it's like a marketplace where you can comparison shop on the best and value. And we've moved a lot of those features now into the Abra app. So if you're in Canada and you try to buy with your bank account, it'll, in the app, it'll show you once it's live next week, the Interact payment option. So super cool. It's one of those things where we learned a lot from this web marketplace, and we're able to take the features and roll them up into the app. So,
and just to really quick follow up on that. In fact, what we do is there's a bunch of vendors that compete for your business, and it's a real marketplace dynamics. And so we will basically look at a bunch of different vendors and float up the vendor that is the perfect vendor for you in terms of pricing, liquidity, faster execution, and so on. And we will float up the vendor that basically is the best for you for the given order. And so what that does is, very, very similar. I mean, exactly the marketplace dynamics that these vendors then start to compete for your business, and you get all the value out of it, which is amazing.
Yep, totally. Okay, so we've got some questions teed up here. By the way, we were doing a very, very short product maintenance this morning. So a few of you were typing just as Money Talks was starting that Abra was unavailable. I think we had a planned 5-minute outage. I think it's over now. So if you were having issues right before Money Talks started, you should be fine now. I know some of you were trying to deposit earlier. You should be good to go. We had a little bit of an upgrade that we were doing for another product launch. It took about 5 minutes. So all good now. So any Bitcoin or Ethereum or other deposits that you might have been trying to do, try again, and you should be good to go. So one question that I see is, does Abra have special, and I think Alfonso was asking this, does Abra have any special service for people holding 1 Bitcoin or more? No, so we don't tier our interest rates. So if you're using Abra Earn, everybody gets the same rates in the Abra app. So unlike other services that give you tiers, they advertise, oh, a really high rate. But then when you log into the app, you realize that that rate is like for 0.1 Bitcoin, and everything above that gets a much lower rate. We don't do that. And I think it's deceptive marketing. Now, some of you have actually asked us for that, right? And so we've considered it, but the way it's being marketed by our competitors, I always found very deceptive. So if we ever did anything like that, we would be very, very above board about why we were doing it and how it works, et cetera, but we're not doing that today. Everybody gets the same service. I have the same service as everybody else. We do have, for high net worth users, a platinum service where you can get a named sales rep who is on call for you, special service, and we're happy to put you in touch with them. So and here's my favorite question of the day, which I'll answer. Then I'm going to ask you guys to chime in. Jim asks, what did Abra do that was so different from? Well, he picks on BlockFi and Voyager, but you can pretty much talk about everybody in the CeFi lending and crypto banking space. I'll go first, but I'd love to hear your guys' take on this. Look, I think Deepak also said it already, and I've talked about this for the last month on Money Talks, actually the last couple of years on Money Talks. I think that as we like to consider ourselves the adults in the room in the crypto space, and sometimes this is boring, right? It's talking about risk management practices, concentration risk in lending, whatever that means, and all the different risk models that we have for determining how to allocate funds to generate yield, including my own money, because my money is in Abra Earn. It sounds very boring on the surface, and it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be aggressive. It's not supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be boring. If it was exciting, that means there's probably something wrong. Okay, so risk management is meant to protect your funds. The idea of having no losses in a lending business is untenable. It's not realistic. What you want to do is, every bank has losses, every single bank. The only bank that has no losses is out of business. So a bank that has losses is a bank. That's it. All right. But the question is, what do you do to mitigate losses, to make sure that no one borrower can bring down the company, which is exactly what happened with the companies mentioned in the question. They had such a big concentration risk to 1 or 2 borrowers that when that borrower went under, they would toast. You don't do that. Okay, so it's easy to say that it's not that hard, but the reality is, I'm sorry to say that it's laziness, because everybody knows this. Everybody that studies lending knows that you don't put all your eggs in one borrower basket. Okay, banks do it with the Fed because they're forced to buy treasuries because the government tells them we're good for it, don't worry about it. You can't do that with anyone else. I would actually claim you shouldn't even be doing it with the Fed, but they're not really given a choice. They have to do it. Okay, we don't have to do it. We spread the lending around. Very small amounts in different DeFi opportunities. Sometimes, like right now, it's almost at zero. Very little DeFi exposure. Just doesn't feel like the right time to our risk team. And we'll slowly come back in and look at different ways. But the bottom line is that if you are putting too much of your lending book in one loan or 2 loans or 3 loans, you're going to have problems. It's just a question of when. So anyway, I don't know, Deepak, I'm sure you agree with that, or Tanner, if you guys have anything you want to add. But I also feel like the communications from those companies was really good when everything was great. And then all of a sudden, when you wanted the communications the most, it stopped.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's about doing things the right way the first time. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to make mistakes and learn from them along the way. Of course, we all make mistakes. We're all human, just as anybody else. But having the forethought and really the understanding of the space to recognize that, hey, like, there's a right way to go about this and a wrong way. And I think the point that Bill made around being transparent, being out in front of people, having a customer support team that's available 24/7, that you can talk to a live person in 30 seconds is unheard of in our space. We still have opportunities even to improve our quality and definitely strive to continuously improve as we move forward. But that said, I think going about doing things the way that we do them, we feel it's the right way to do them. It's transparent. It's going to differentiate us in the long term, and that's really all it's been about, is the long term play. It's not the short term, like, hey, I'm in this to make a quick buck, but it's belief in the space, it's belief in the technology and the difference that we can make for society as a whole.
Yep, totally agree. Did you want anything, Deepak?
I mean, 100% agree with everything that you guys just said. I'll just probably add that is that, you know, we have a list of core tenets. It's those fundamentals that drive us as a company. In the if we were in the highest yield generators in the space, and we were in the lowest, but we're in the highest. And that all goes down to basically what Bill alluded to, which is risk-adjusted returns. These returns are not free, and we absolutely prioritize our clients' security first, maintaining liquidity first, generating sustainable yields first. Everything else that we see in the market are either subsidized or unsustainable, or sacrificing liquidity, which is fine in the bull market. In the bear market, you know, things flip pretty quickly, right? And so these are the core tenets. We have our own proprietary risk framework that we use to rate all the borrowers, regardless of how big or small you are. It's the same framework that applies to all borrowers. And so these are the fundamentals that drive us, regardless of whether we're in a bull market or bear market. And that's the only reason we are going to be one of the very few ones that will be standing when the dust settles. And I'm very, it seems almost, you know, like a table stakes, if you will, but unfortunately that is the nature of the space. It isn't. And those companies that practice good standards will remain, and we will most definitely be one of them.
Yep. So so many things I can say about this, and I don't want to beat the dead horse, because we literally have been talking about this every single week. Now, many of you don't watch every week, and that's totally fine. I wouldn't want to look at me all day either. But you know, there are like literally 30 episodes of Money Talks you can go back and look at. I think we did one 2 weeks ago with Justin and Lisa, and I'll have them back on. Justin, our CFO, and Lisa, our head of risk, and we actually had a PowerPoint where we walked through all of it. I'll put the link in the show notes, but it was from 2 weeks ago, and you can go back and on the playlist for our Money Talks, or our Abra page, excuse me, on the Money Talks playlist, and you'll see Justin and Lisa there. So yeah, and by the way, we have live, real person based support, both text chat in the app live, as well as phone based support. The phone-based support is not 24/7, but the rest of the support is. And we're super busy. Sometimes, you know, you may have to get in a little bit of a queue, but usually it's pretty darn quick. I use it myself. Usually I don't know who it is on the other side, and if I have a quick question and I can't figure it out, I'll try it out. And I love it, because we have so many features in the app, I can't remember everything myself. So sometimes if I can't find it in the FAQ, I'll just ask. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Paul, for that comment. I can attest to Abra's customer service telephone access. I was stunned when they answered the phone almost immediately. Unheard of in crypto. That's why we did it. So you know, it's crazy that Paul has to say that. It should be table stakes, right? I have a few different bank accounts for my personal life. I'm hoping to get rid of them and move them to Abra eventually. You know, First Republic, Capital One, they're good companies. I get an answer on the phone. This is not a shock. when I call them and they answer the phone, it's not a revelation. It's not a shock. It's not a surprise. It's table stakes. I don't understand why people in crypto have this fear that it should be different. It's just crazy. Anyway, So lots of rumors I'm not going to respond to about our competitors. I feel your pain, those of you with funds locked up, a few people commenting on that. My heart goes out to you. I wish we could help. Some of you heeded our warnings and moved over earlier. And some of you have funds in both places. But hopefully they'll at least unlock things soon for some portion of the funds so you can start to get them out. I have no insights, no inside information. I've actually tried to contact both companies to see if there were ways we could help. I didn't get a response, but I have tried. Maybe I'll get a response at some point. I don't know. Let's see. So I was going from bottom to top. Let me go back to the top here and see if there was any other questions that we missed. A lot of CPerks questions. I don't know if there's a couple of stablecoin questions, which we'll get to in a minute. I forgot to ask earlier. I don't think there's any CPerks updates versus last week, but we're inching towards being able to talk about a plan. I know that.
That's right. So no material changes since last time. And if you weren't tuned in last time, basically we're working on the next generation of Abra perks. There were some really massive successes, but also some failures with our first generation of perks. And so, right now the team is really hard at work, going back to the drawing board and building something that that would be the next generation of Abra perks, which would give more value to our users in participating in our ecosystem, and so on and so forth. So nothing material to announce just yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah. Somebody asked this in the chat. I can't find it. I want to give them credit. Maybe I'll find it while I'm talking. And it was similar to the question that John Chilson also asked, is what would I personally want to see to support CPerks going forward, and how would I want to use it in the app? And I'll give you a few things that I would want to see. I'm not saying that this is what we're going to do, but I'm just saying this would be like my dream, and I'm allowed to dream just like all of our other users. So this isn't policy. This is Bill's dream, right? So I would want to see it attached to my credit card. I would want to see it attached to my trading environment so that I could pay for my limit orders, for example. I would want to be able to earn in CPerks, but I'd also want to be able to trade it to other cryptos. How cool would it be if you could log into your existing American Express card or Capital One card and convert those points to anything you want with one button and get a fair price, market price for doing that? It sounds crazy. It's like, well, that defeats the purpose of having a sticky rewards program. Well, it's not just about the benefit to Capital One. What about the benefit to me as the user, right? So, and then what about other things like, there's games coming down the pipe in this whole new Web3 environment for play to earn. I used to run a gaming company, and we used to have this point system in the games where it was like Chuck E. Cheese on a phone, where you could use the points in different games and earn different things. Why isn't anybody doing that in crypto? Like I want that integrated into my life in a way that's fun, engaging, adds value, rewards me for my actions that are beneficial to both of us, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how I think about it. Back to John's excellent question. And I think that my gut tells me we're going to get there over time, and we're learning, but we have also already learned a lot. Sorry, my phone's ringing. It's just going to get better. So I remain super psyched and excited about where we're going with CPerks. Are we accepting pre-registrations for the Abra card outside the US right now, just to have those people's info?
I don't believe so. Okay. I think it's US only, but I can double check.
Yeah, somebody was asking about that, and I apologize. We might want to consider allowing people to register from outside the US and just capture your interest. So I see here, I think Mario was asking, I don't know what country. He says he's in the EU, but that's actually a good idea, just to capture interest. We know the interest is there because so many of you have been asking. It never occurred to me on the sign up page what we are or aren't doing. But I can tell you that we've had thousands upon thousands of registrations, and I know we've given the feedback to our friends at American Express, and they're super excited and asking us to get involved in other things already. And so it's awesome. I just can't wait for this product and the NFT stuff that we're doing, the new trading system. So somebody was asking about other delistings And I know, Tanner, this came up in our briefings, that people have been asking why we're doing this. So let me just kind of summarize, and then you guys can comment. So we are moving to a new trading system. We talked about this the last couple of weeks. It will have tighter spreads for the coins we support. It will allow us to add new coins faster. I mentioned no guarantees as to when, but I mentioned Solana as an example. If it was up to me, we already would have done it, but we have limitations today in our existing systems on third parties that we don't control. Some of those limitations will go away. However, as a result, in looking at some of the coins we do support, some of them have very low volume. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP internationally, and they all have huge volume. And then once you get into the long tail, some of them have much smaller volume day to day, and it fluctuates, right? But some of the ones with very, very low volume tend to screw users on price. They're not widely supported with some of the new places where we will be routing liquidity. And so as a result, we're delisting some of those at the bottom. Now, some of you are holding those. You will be able to hold them for a while, but eventually you're going to have to move them off. Is there any other questions in there that you're getting that we should address?
I think that, that does a great job of addressing the why behind the change for sure, and specifically the time frame that you're going to want to be able to kind of move those assets that are no longer going to be supported. You'll want to move those before August 1st, just to make sure that if you do want to continue holding those specific assets, you don't lose access to those.
Yeah. So, Deepak, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think I just add that the infrastructure that we're moving into, it's built in a way that it is going to be exchange indifferent, meaning we are going to have connections to several exchanges and liquidity providers in the back end, whether it's C5, DeFi, it doesn't matter. Our system is going to be indifferent about it. And the cool part about that is that our system would be intelligent enough to take your order for your particular order size, for your particular trading pair. It would be able to then route, even maybe break up your order into multiple orders and route to any one of these, several exchanges that are connected on the back end to give you the best price, the best experience, the deepest liquidity, the fastest execution. And so that's the goal here, is to make an infrastructure that is really liquidity provider exchange indifferent. And this is the first step towards it. So it wouldn't even matter what exchanges we're connected to. We wouldn't even know, essentially. Basically, the system is going to do the work for you, and it's going to be seamless, and it's going to be the best experience for our customers.
Yeah. And somebody here had a really good point. I scrolled through. It was Christine who said, I don't think one of the things she doesn't like about Abra is that almost all of their cryptos only support ERC20, don't support, I'm sorry, I'm just fixing your grammar a little bit here, don't support BSC and other network/chains. And she's absolutely right. So one of the things that we're going to be able to fix here is that you're going to see multi-chain versions of the same tokens over time, lots of tokens that you wouldn't see. I've mentioned a couple already. And all of these changes that we're making right now are opening the door for exactly what she's talking about. And so it's a long time coming, and I'm super excited about that. Tanner, so one comment here, somebody said that they're in France and the registration is asking for a US phone number. I assume that we have lots of users in France, so there must be a disconnect there. She should probably just contact support in the app if she can't. Actually, I don't know, Mario might be a he, so he or she can't figure it out directly in the app, but we can help you out there via the live support if that's a problem. I assume you're not aware of anything specific related to European phone numbers.
Yeah, no, I think if they're relating or asking about specifically the card registration, that might be something to look at. I think we already talked about at least collecting that information, but reach out through chat. If you're having an issue through voice, chat is available 24/7, 365, and we should be able to get you taken care of for sure.
Yep. Somebody asking to help us out in the Dominican Republic. You can always check out our jobs page. We're definitely still hiring in some areas. So even in this slow economy, we've got a few folks starting. We're actually beefing up our back-end trading operations, and we're going to be doing a lot more in that area. So that's one area we've been hiring, and there's others as well. We've got a kick-ass sales team, obviously kick-ass support product teams. You see them here every week. So Timothy says, I'm looking for a Fidelity type experience where I can avoid all the extra steps for security measures. So Timothy, I think one of the things that we've talked about, and there's a blog, if you go to abra.blog, there's a page we published a couple of weeks ago during Consensus where we laid out our short-term roadmap. And one of the things we mentioned is we will be adding web support in the fall as well. And so super excited about that. The team has made a lot of progress on that. And so Deepak, if you want to, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Nothing materially different, except that is one of the highest priority initiatives for the company right now. And we are in the end game, if you will. So it's coming very soon. But again, we don't want to rush it. We just want to make sure that everything is perfect before we put anything out in front of you. But it's coming very soon. So, and you'll hear more from us.
Yep. Okay. Any closing comments, guys? Anything you want to add based on what we're seeing in the chat? Or I think we've answered a lot of their folks' questions today, and we're planning to keep it to 30 minutes, and we're already at 45 because of all the questions. So I'm happy to keep answering. But anything specific you guys want to throw in?
For us, just maybe summarizing where we are right now at Abra from a product perspective, for us, it's all about basically laying low, keeping your head down, and building the right things. We are very confident that when the dust settles and the macro picks up again, which it will, we're very confident about that as well. And when it does, we are going to be in an excellent position to ride the tailwinds, which is going to be amazing. We'll be a full-featured, full-service, crypto banking service at that time. And so looking forward to that, very excited. The team here is very excited as well. And we just need to be patient, be safe. It is a bear market. For those of us who've been through multiple of these bear markets, we know that it will end. Be safe. Yep, exactly. It always does. Be safe and
Cool. And Tanner, please pass on our gratitude to the entire support team. I know a lot of nervous people out there, given what was happening with our competitors, and we've had a lot of people who've even tested our withdrawals and then came back. They said, "Oh, is Abra going to process my withdrawal?" And they said, "Oh, they not only processed it, they processed it really fast." And so thank you for that. I can't blame you at all for testing us out and pushing us to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. No problem at all. No concerns there with you doing that. You should hold us to what we say. And if we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, I'm totally fine, and actually encourage you to remind me. That's what we do this for. We want you to hold our feet to the fire. A couple of last minute important questions here. There is, and I'll share my screen here for a second. There, if you go to abra.com, I think Lucas was asking, if you go to abra.com, there's a learn section, and it how to use Abra. It's got links to videos, and so there's all kinds of things here, where you can learn about using the app and different videos, et cetera, et cetera. It's a really good website. If you go to the hamburger menu in the app, you can, which is this 3 lines. When I say hamburger menu, it looks like a hamburger with a bun and a beef in the middle there. You click on support and FAQ, and it gives you a whole bunch of details. So check that out. We spent a lot of time preparing, I think, high quality content. Our website is getting better and better. So check that out. A couple other questions just to sum it up here. Let's see. What do I think of the future likely consolidation coming? And by the way, what happened to Natalie Brunell this week? So Natalie's actually taken a bit of a break. So she's going to be working on some personal projects for the next few weeks, and then hopefully in the fall she'll be rejoining us. So stay tuned for that. We love Natalie, and I've seen samples of some of the projects she's working on, specifically in the Bitcoin space, and big fan there. And we'll do shout outs to those projects when they're live, and look forward to getting her back on in hopefully the fall. And in terms of the consolidation, look, it's inevitable, right? I've been saying this to our existing investors and employees in our internal meetings for probably 4 years now. I think that the spreads in the market on the exchanges were too high, and they're going to come down. Abra has dramatically lowered its spreads over the last 18 months, and with the coming exchange upgrades and trading upgrades, they'll get even lower. That's going to lead to more industry consolidation, because in English, what that means is the profits for those companies are going to come down. They'll have to grow users at an even faster clip in order to maintain the same profits, and they won't be able to do it. And so companies like Abra that are actually more friendly, user-facing, we're not really targeting the pro trader. We don't mind if you use Abra for very simple day trading. It's cost-effective to do it that way with Abra. But our user interface, our user experience is really meant for the everyday consumer. And we add a lot of value in terms of earning yield, borrowing against crypto, live customer support, all of which costs money. And so that's the future of centralized crypto services, right? Some people will continue to manage their own keys. That's perfectly fine. You're going to have to add more value on top in order to not be a victim of the oncoming, or the forthcoming, oncoming, whatever you want to call it, consolidation in the crypto space. And I think it's good for the space. There's too many exchanges out there. There's 400 exchanges that are getting some volume. Most of you have never heard of them. It's just too many. And I'm all for competition. You've heard me say this many times. I'm a libertarian at heart. Love the competition. Love the competition in the crypto space. That's why I'm a big supporter of having lots of different crypto projects and different tokens. But at some point, the ones that don't need to exist will simply consolidate or disappear. And that's a good thing. That's just the way of things. So that's my thoughts on that. I think we're going to stop there. I think we got to the most important questions. And if there's anything that you wanted to ask, I didn't get to, you can always ask via support channels. You can come back and join us on next week here on Money Talks. I don't know when we're going to take a summer break, but no plans right now. We love doing this for you. I don't let Tanner and Deepak out, so they'll definitely be back next week. And so we're good to go. Anyway, have a great weekend. And thanks, Tanner. Thanks, Deepak. Great to see you guys. And we'll do this in person together at one point soon. And hopefully that'll go well. But good to see you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Take care, everyone.